Hi, and welcome to this episode of Money with Alpha. I have a very special guest today. I'm very excited to welcome Maree Kirkpatrick. Hello.
Hello, lovely. I'm excited to be here.
Oh yeah, we were chatting. I was like, oh, I think we need to actually start hitting a record because we could just keep on chatting.
Yes.
I met Maree through Tina Towers for Empire Builder, which we're both in, and she's one of the most generous, giving people that I've met. Who she works as a sales strategist and specialist, and just offered to look at my website and was just very, very giving. And she's also launched something which I'm now into, which we'll go into in a bit more detail. But in terms of your story and a bit of your background, Maree, how about you tell the listeners and viewers, because we're visual now as well, a little bit about yourself, what you do, and how you came to be doing what you're doing now.
So I've been in the sales industry for probably 18 years, 19 years. When I first went into it, I got taught to sell by men in suits, very masculine, very hustly, very pushy. And I thought, oh, okay, I'm pretty good at it. But it got to the stage of self gross. It felt uncomfortable. It felt
Yeah.
just I didn't get up excited in the morning to do it.
Yeah.
And so I ended up stepping out of sales.
Hmm.
I then got headhunted to go into a company from a sales perspective, and there was no training, there was nothing. And so I was like, if I was to create my own sales role, what would that look like?
Hmm.
And so within that role, I went through and developed my own sales processes, my own documents. I had a team behind me that I then had to figure out how to train and kind of put into practice everything that I'd learned, but from a really more engaging and non-draining space. I
Yeah.
think sometimes that constant hustle feeling feels exhausting, and I hated it. I
Yeah.
didn't like the idea that I had to convince people to buy from us, work with us, or anything along those lines. So, however many years down the track, I decided that when I was pregnant with my first son, that I didn't want to work for anyone else. I wanted to be that mum that was home and present and all of that. So I decided to start a business when I was pregnant. Yeah, don't do that. That's hard work.
Blame it on the
Um,
hormones.
yeah, hormones, fatigue. I was also studying at the time as well. There was a lot happening. And so I decided to choose a business that was online. It was online, it was an e-commerce store, it was in the health and fitness industry, helping women from vitamins and supplements point of view. And I remember meeting someone that I'd met many years ago, and she said, oh, why have you got this online business
Mhm.
where you're so much better in front of people and with people? What I realized was that I was hiding behind the scenes a bit.
Yeah.
My bad. But it felt like it was going to be easier. I didn't have to be hustly. I didn't have to be pushy. I didn't have to be any of that. And then I caught up with a client that I'd had many years ago, another company that I was working for, and he was telling me about someone that he had brought in to teach his team how to sell. It cost him about $8,000 a day, and the guy was average. And
Mm.
he made this joke that he should have got me to do it. And I walked out the door that day, and I went I was like, oh yeah, that would have been funny, ha ha. And I walked out the door, and I was like, damn it,
Light bulb.
light bulb, huge light bulb moment. And I remember going and sitting in the car, and it was in one of those car parks that's like kind of dark and like no one could see me. And I just had my hands on my head, and I was like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to go, I want to train people, I want to show people how you can sell from a really connected and nurturing space. You don't have to be a muppet
Yeah.
to have high conversions and stuff. And so he turned out my first client. I called him back a couple of days after I'd spoken to him, and I was like, hey, I've been thinking. He's like, I've been meaning to call you. I think we should give it a go.
Yeah.
You should come in and train the team. And I was like, oh my God. Didn't sleep for 2 weeks because I thought, can I do it? Is it going to work? You know, all the
The
mindset stuff
imposter
that comes up.
syndrome or whatever they
Oh, all of it. And so that's kind of where my consulting firm started. So I didn't have a website, I didn't have logos, I didn't have branding, I had nothing. I had nothing that really people tend to spend a lot of time and money and energy on in their
You did
business
it the right
first.
way. You found the clients first. You proved there was
That's the way
demand.
sales should be done, right? Find people with the problem, figure out how you can help them. And
Yeah.
so, however many years on, 10 years on now, our consulting firm is ranking. I'm absolutely loving it. And people are realizing that sales doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be uncomfortable. They don't have to change who they are. I'm very much an introvert. I didn't come out of the womb with this like, yeah, I'm going to sell and blah blah blah. It was like, how can I still be me and still sell? And I believe that every single person has the ability to sell. They've just got to figure out what that skill set is and how they tailor it to themselves.
Yeah. Do you
So
find it changes at all the industry that people are in, or the principle's the same regardless?
the foundations are always still the same.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether you sell B2B or B2C, business to business, business to consumer.
Mm.
It doesn't matter whether you sell services or products, the foundations are still the same. You're still dealing with humans.
Yes.
And as humans, we've got a brain that has been developed from many, 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 many moons ago.
Yeah.
And so once we understand how our brain works and the psychology around it, then we can look at what is the best way that I can talk people through a process for them to make a really good decision. Whether that's working with you or not, that's irrelevant. But it's giving people a really great experience every time they come.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it depends on the industry. I've dealt with people. I've dealt with industries from motor vehicles, finance, legal, dentistry, medical, marketing agencies, finance, like all of it.
Mm.
But the principles are all still the same. We just
Yes.
tailor it to those businesses.
Yeah, and I think one of the foundations of, because you've created her sales club, which I'm in, and we'll talk
Yes.
about a bit more of it. The first thing that you started with had nothing to do with branding or logos or colors or anything. It was like, get clear on who it is that you're actually helping. Who is
Yeah.
that specific person? And I talk a lot about clarity when it comes to money. So it's like, well, unless you know what you want money for, it's really hard to do anything. You know, it's putting a plan, having no plan, and nothing happens. You're like, well, you
Yeah.
planned or nothing, so nothing happened.
Absolutely. And what I see people do is they spend money on the easy things, like I did when I first went into business. It was easier for me to hide behind
Mm.
a website than it was for me to go, you know what, I am good at what I do, and I do know that I can help people.
Yeah.
So logos, yes, they're great down the track, but no one says, I'm going to buy from her based on her logo.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't happen. And people say, well, I really need to build a website. Well, do you? I don't know how many people come and work with me that actually look at my website. Yes, they're great to have, and they're great to have as a asset and a piece of real estate on the internet and a way for people to find you.
Yes.
But does that mean that a website will sell for you? Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not.
No, it's an element there. Like to be honest, I've found a lot of things that have worked for me are more offline than online. People will work with me online and they've seen me offline first.
Yeah.
So in person, and I very much, I can relate to sort of attempted to start sort of hide behind the camera and all of that to begin with.
Yeah.
But I actually just really enjoy being around people. So it's
Yeah.
also figuring out how you want to sell or how you want to do what you do. And ultimately, the word selling kind of has this negative connotation, but you just need to tell people what you do and how you can help them.
Yeah. And when people introduce themselves and they say, I'm a business coach or a sales coach or a whatever it is, the human brain doesn't actually register that.
Yeah.
What we are looking for is what's in it for me. Yeah. Can the person in front of me, do they feel safe? Are we connected? Can they help me with anything in my life? As humans, we are literally born to be problem solvers. There's a reason why we learn to crawl and walk, because we need to get to places to get to things that we need.
Yeah.
And so if we can't show people what's in it for them and how we can help them, people zone out. But so many people sell about them. It's always about them. I do this and I do that. No one cares. No one cares.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too, because I mean, my daughter's 8 and she's very much in the, oh, you know, will they take it badly, or if I said something, or even, you know, we're talking about the concept of being offended as well. And I was like, ultimately, people are thinking about themselves.
Yeah.
They're not really thinking about, they might have a reaction or something to what you've said or done, but it's usually a trigger for something else that's happened that's sort of brought up their own stuff.
Totally.
And you're right. We all walk around with that self-focused because that's sort of how we started as children.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So in terms of your journey as a business owner, what sort of process have you gone through to learn a bit more about? Because obviously you specialize in how to help people sell and communicate. and this is what I find with a lot of business owners, they have their zone of genius and the thing that they love to do, and they don't necessarily want to be like the HR manager, the IT manager, the finance manager, or any of that. And I deal with the finance side.
Yeah.
How have you found that journey as the owner, wearing all the hats, to trying to figure out how to do as much as you need to do, or know as much as you need to know, specifically in the money space?
Yeah. So I think your industry, my industry is similar in that people tend to avoid us.
Yes.
People like, I don't want to sell. And people like, I don't want to deal with my money.
Yeah.
I was more than happy to sell when I first started out in business, and I didn't know enough about my money, a money management point of view.
Yeah.
I knew money management and things like that outside of business because my parents were are very financially aware, and they've been investing for years, and we grew up in that space.
That's
So
great.
from that aspect, I was really comfortable, and I was like, yeah, cool. Dad's an accountant, and not a typical accountant, but like a out there kind of accountant, but a very safe. He still comes with that safe
Yeah.
playing field.
Yeah.
And so I started to try and talk to him about money in business. He thought it was just easier for me to go and get a job, someone will pay your tax and your super and all of that.
Yeah.
And so I realized over the years that maybe Dad's not probably the best person to talk about business and money. And so what I decided to do was every dollar that came in, I just put 50% aside, and I'd spend 50% as my own wage and figure it out.
Yeah.
And then I decided to get a bookkeeper on board and thought she can do all the things.
Yeah.
I can still keep my head buried in the sand and avoid dealing with the bookkeeping and the money stuff.
Yeah.
That didn't work out so well. I remember this one time where, and it was literally the game changer. I had an idea that my tax bill would probably be about 5 or 6 grand.
Mm-hmm.
And it was probably 22 or 23.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I remember sitting a little bit more. And I remember sitting there thinking, oh my God,
Yeah.
how did this get so blown out? Or how am I not aware of this?
Yeah.
And B, where the hell am I going to get the money from? And it was only because we had our personal finances sorted and buffers and stuff like that that I was able to kind of dig myself out of it. But I swore that day I was never going to end up in that situation again. And it hasn't been like I love dealing with all the money stuff in my business. Like I've only like recently, and I'm talking like last month, become friends with Zero because I couldn't understand it. My brain just didn't get how it needed to be processed. I'm very logical and strategy based.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it just felt too hard. So I just kept pushing it to the side and stuff.
Yeah.
But I say to my clients, from a tracking perspective, from your metrics, from all of that, data doesn't lie. And so it wasn't that I was worried about looking at the money, I don't think. It was more of like, it felt hard. I don't know how to have it all aligned. I don't know how to pull up my profit and loss and make sure that I'm, all in the right buckets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so, it's been an interesting journey, but it's something that focusing on it has allowed my business to scale nearly 3 times in a year.
Yes.
In a year. So, which has been brilliant.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of avoidance prior to that.
Yeah. And I think and you probably see this as well with the selling, the idea is a whole lot worse than the reality.
Yeah.
So we build up this, this is, this is going to be terrible. And I've got to know everything before I can do anything. You're like, well, no, you really just have like a couple of steps.
Yeah, absolutely.
To start with, and then you get that, and then you can move on to the next thing. So for instance, with you and your process, helping people know, well, who are you talking to? And then you'd have other steps after that as well to help. I'm looking forward to finding out more and more about that. But so how do you then take your clients through that process as well? So how to try and distill the fear or help them with the mindset side, I suppose, really.
Yeah. So for me, putting together a process and a system takes a lot of the head stuff out of it. And it's the same with finances. Once I was clear on what I needed to do to get my zero reconciled, to be able to run the reports, to be able to see where we're sitting at, to see what our growth projection was looking like and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Once I had the process there, all I kept saying to myself is, I've just got to follow the process.
Yeah.
Just got to follow the process. Everything will fall into line. And the more times I did the process, I've now become friends with zero. What I find with sales is people are worried about what people are going to think. They're worried about what should I say. Are people going to think that I'm charging too much? There's this whole self-worth stuff that comes up around money and sales and all that sort of stuff too. So
Mm.
for me, my biggest thing is if I can put a step-by-step process in place that you just need to tick off the
Yeah.
boxes and it takes the thinking out of it,
Yeah.
their conversion rates go through the roof. They stop thinking about them and they start thinking about the people that they're talking to and connecting with them and figuring out what feels good, what words feel good coming out of their mouth. I'm not about, here's your sales script, here's everything that you need to say in this order, and then you sound like someone that's from a telecommunication place that's calling you and you think this, yeah, robotic, right? No one likes that. And it feels uncomfortable and it feels gross. So for me, we have chunks of a sales process. And I'm like, just tick off these parts,
Mm.
just tick off these elements, work through it. And then everything else outside of that, you can be you. You can put yourself into that process and just tailor it around you, what feels good, your products, your services.
Yeah.
So,
Something I hear, because I listen to a lot of podcasts and I love reading books, and something that comes up a lot at the moment, well, two things. One is branding, and the other one is content creation. How
yes.
do you see both of those fitting into the sales? Because it kind of all seems to be everyone's focused on branding because we were avoiding selling. So let's focus on branding instead. And then there's this, oh my gosh, frazzledness. How do I create so much content? Because I'm supposed to be posting on this platform and this platform and this
Yeah.
platform twice a day. How do you deal with all of that?
So don't tell anyone, but the marketing concepts in my business aren't really nailed out
Hmm.
because for me, it's not about, there's a difference between marketing, advertising, and sales.
Yes.
People think that they can put out all the posts on social media
Yeah.
and that people will buy from them.
Yeah.
That to me is either a form of advertising or a form of marketing.
Yeah.
None of that equals sales.
No.
Like if you look at my business dollars versus the numbers on my Instagram and my Facebook pages, there's no correlation there.
Yeah.
But I know that when someone inquires with me, when someone is looking for some help, I know exactly what I need to do to either help them move them forward, whether we work together or not. And
Hmm.
so I think people tend to focus on branding because they feel like it's going to be easier or it's easier to outsource. Someone else knows more about branding than
Yeah.
I do as the business owner.
Yeah.
So they'll go and throw money at that.
Hmm.
Or they'll go and think, okay, I need to create all the social media content because that will equal sales.
Hmm.
And I hope after us working together, even just for a really short period of time, it doesn't always equal that.
Yeah.
Because you can put a whole heap of stuff out on social media. If it's not optimized for sales and if it's not connecting with your ideal target market and explaining what you do from a really connected and relationship focused space,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're just spending a whole heap of time or
Yeah.
money sometimes with Zuckerberg if you're throwing money at him too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been there, done that too. And yeah.
Yeah, don't
Um,
recommend it.
no, no.
Yeah,
But I remember one of the exercises that you did was like open your like Instagram feed and looking, going, yeah, this isn't really
yeah,
communicating what I want it to. So
yeah.
now I actually do that quite regularly. I go and have a look, is my feed looking better? Is it, and I don't post as much primarily because I don't necessarily feel the need to.
Okay.
But what I do, I try and do more targeted and keep the languaging more
Absolutely.
consistent. And it's so far I feel like it's working. I don't yeah, but I do a lot of offline stuff too. So
Yeah.
lots of birds having a little thing out there.
Have a
So I
little
hope you
chat.
can't hear that.
They want to get in on it. That's fine.
Yeah, I might just
The
close.
other thing I notice is that when people look at their Instagram or
Yeah.
they consider Instagram, they think that more equals more sales.
Yeah.
But if I pull up someone's Instagram, like you were saying, and I can't see who you're talking to, what it is that you sell, how you sell it, what you offer,
Yeah.
you just got a bit of a hole in your marketing and sales bucket in that space.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and
yeah,
that's something you can't outsource. Like I love what you said before, because I see that happen a lot. People outsource their money to a bookkeeper or an accountant. They're not going to help you manage your money. And
No.
and what I see a lot is even the accounting systems, they don't really help with the day-to-day money management. They'll
Yep.
give you a P&L, like profit and loss, and they'll give you like categorized. But if you want to actually delve into like you're spending too much in your business, they're not going to help you with that. And then quite often accountants, if you ask them for additional advisory, they can help if they're the right type of accountant, but they don't necessarily offer it off the bat. And that's another thing too. I was like, from a
Mm.
sales perspective, there's so much like on sales that they could do to actually really help their clients better, not just lodge a tax return.
Yeah. It's really interesting because I feel like we outsource stuff sometimes because we think people are going to be better at it than what we are,
Yeah.
which that's never true. But then we also have someone else to blame if it doesn't work.
Mm.
So I remember when I got that, I call it the silly tax bill. It was only silly because I didn't understand it. And I was like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
My own thoughts and feelings around it. However, if I had kept my finger on the pulse and knew what was going on in my business,
Yeah.
that wouldn't have happened. It's
Yeah.
the same when people outsource their branding or their website development. They're giving it to someone that develops websites and that is their forte.
Yeah.
But there's no sales concept in there at all. There's no like, this web developer knows how to optimize it for sales or knows how to write content that connects with my ideal client.
Mm.
And you, as the business owner, that is your job.
Yeah.
Create the documents, create those foundations that you can hand over to someone else if you decide to outsource things to be like, this is my ideal client. This is what my products and services do. These are the features, the benefits, the outcomes, the emotions that people get from working with me. And then people go, wow, this is really easy. Yeah, that's the foundation. Everything that you create comes from that same document
Yeah.
because that's what's going to connect with your clients. Connecting, conversion, easy.
Yes, yeah, and
Mm.
that's that it sounds so simple when you say it as
Yeah.
well. It's simple and logical. I'm like,
Yeah.
I remember that you had, I think, one of the first sessions during the last sales sprint that you ran. It was like this question: do you have this? I'm like, no, I don't have that. Do you have a sales process? I was like, no. Do you have like a funnel? And it wasn't just like me. You were
Yeah.
asking the question to everybody. I was like, I have a little bit of that, but probably not enough.
Yeah.
Not clear enough, not
Yeah.
specific.
But it's the
So
same
yeah.
with finances, right? Like you need to have software that supports it. You need to have a process on how you manage your money and all. Yeah,
Yes,
same
yeah.
concepts.
And then it doesn't take that much time. What takes
No.
the time is the initial setup. And there's a certain amount, you can look at it as a certain amount of creativity as well.
Mm-hmm.
I run workshops now where I try and make them a little bit more fun. So I'll use oranges or apples instead of money, and
Yeah.
people are managing their apples or managing their oranges, and it just kind of breaks the state a little bit to go, oh, okay, well, this doesn't seem so hard. It's like, well, it's the same thing as a piece of paper. Or what makes
Yeah.
it even harder is the intangible dollars we see on a screen now. It's very hard to kind of
Yeah.
really grasp the concept of money without
Yeah.
physically touching it.
When I've run sales workshops, I've broken people up into like teams,
Yeah.
and I've created like a little Lego figurine type thing,
Yeah.
and I've given them the Lego pulled apart, and I've said someone needs to go and communicate what they need to build,
Yes.
but you can't draw anything. You've just got to use your words.
Yeah.
You can't touch it. You can't do anything like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't understand how to do it. Like, I don't understand this. And I was like, when you sell to someone, they've got the pieces. They know that they need to build something. No
Yeah.
idea how to do it. They're in that overwhelmed stage.
Yes.
What do you need to do? What are those steps that you need to take people through to go, these pieces need to all click together for you to end up with, I think one of the things I was working with Bridgestone at the time, I think, and I made them create like this flower garden thing. And they're like, dude, what's this? But then I'd also like gave them a Lego box each, but I took the instructions out of it. And I was like, get creative, build
Yeah.
me what it shows on the box. And they're like, but I don't know what needs to go where. And I was like, because you don't have the process and the systems behind you to tell you what you need to be doing. And the light bulbs in that was freaking brilliant.
Yeah, I know. That's great. And that's the thing, learning through doing. It's like that show,
Yeah.
don't tell kind of
Yeah.
concept when you're writing as
Sexy.
well.
Yeah.
That's great. And it's just also different too. Otherwise, like, I was listening to a podcast this morning where they talked about the concept of death by PowerPoint. I'm like, yeah, that's what people expect from probably a sales training or a finance training is you sit there
Yeah.
and you stare at a screen and you kind of zoom off and you go, oh, what am I going to make for dinner? oh, I
Yeah.
haven't vacuumed,
What's
you're
happening on
like,
Facebook? People scrolling. Yeah.
yeah, there's so many other things that you could find to do
Yeah.
except be there. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Absolutely.
boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, fabulous. So what do you, how, because have your offers evolved over time? Because I know you've launched something new this year, which I'm
I
excited
have.
about.
Yes.
How do you work with people?
So my my offers have evolved over the years because as I've learned more about what it is that people are needing and my own time and my own business,
Yeah.
I originally started with one-on-one work because I felt like if I could just get in there and show people one-on-one specifically to their business, then we'd be good.
Yeah.
And then I ended up working with large corporate, small businesses, like the range was huge. And I was like, okay, this is great. I'm also a mum. I also don't want to be working 7 days a week, 500 hours a week. I'm not interested in any of that. It's not good for me. It's not good for my family. It's not good for anything.
Yeah.
And so over the years, I work with people and then they say, but don't don't just leave me hanging. Like,
Yeah.
like I want more support. And I was like, oh, I don't have anything else unless we keep working together one-on-one.
Yeah.
And so over the years, I've kind of had elements drop in and be like, what is it that I really want to do? What is it that I want to create? How can I really help more people make more income, make more impact?
Yeah.
And so I had an idea for like a membership or a club or a something that was going to be ongoing where people could come to me and be like, hey, Maree, I had this conversation with a client. I've stuffed it up. It didn't work. How do I reopen?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool. And when people ask me questions, I thrive off it. I love it. Like, let's dig in and get stuff done.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how her sales club started. For me, from a concept point of view, it was like, I want to help more people and I want it to be a safe, nothing held back type environment. And I'm really passionate about helping women. I feel like if there's more income for women, the world's a better place. I also find that women end up in relationships maybe where the other person tends to be the breadwinner. And if that relationship breaks down, mum's on her own looking after kids. And so for me, from a business point of view and a legacy point of view, I wanted to tick both those boxes.
Yeah.
So her sales club kicked off March, just gone. And I've got some really big goals and dreams for it. And I'm excited to welcome the women into it and really take their businesses, even the ahas that we've already had from 1 month of like, wow, I see maybe where I've gone wrong in this.
Yes.
I see what I can do differently.
Yeah.
So, and it also supports, my business supports a domestic violence shelter locally where we give back from a profit point of view too. So the bigger that her sales club grows, the bigger my legacy and that contribution part grows too, which is so yeah.
Yeah, and that's a really big part of it too, the give or the giving or the donating part, and then being able, because that's the other thing too, that whole idea that money makes people greedy or what. No. Well, dispel any of that, because all it really does is be able to amplify what it is that you do, amplifies who you are already. So it's not, and being able to help in different ways like that is tremendous, and it's a really topical issue at the moment. There was some protests recently in Melbourne. So it's that's really, really, really important. And I see a lot, either the woman is sort of, she's just doing the side hustle and the husband is the breadwinner, or if there's a business, she outsources or offloads all of the financial decisions and responsibility to the husband, and she runs the business. I even just met a lady last week like that. And I was like, do you know what's going on? Do you know where the money is? Do you know what's being spent? And she's like, oh, I let my husband deal with that. And I was like, okay, all right, are you happy with that arrangement? And she's like, I was like, right.
They just tend to not really know any different or not know how to approach it.
Yeah, and I think it's someone's taking care of it. Okay, but
like I was with the bookkeeping lady, and then I got screwed over 14 grand.
Yes, so while it may seem difficult to, and getting over that hump of trying to get to know something, it's really important. Like with selling, then you can make more money. And then you know what to do with it.
And I link in learning to sell kind of like learning to drive a car. When you first get in there, you've normally got like a mum or a dad or someone sitting next to you that's trying to help you deal with also all their stuff too, right? Like I know the first time I ever heard my mum swear was when I was learning to drive. I nearly took out an extra car. And I remember thinking, like, when I got in the car, there are so many things to think about.
Mm-hmm.
There's brakes, there's accelerators, there's indicators, plus there's a whole heap of other people on the road, there's road rules, there's all of that.
Yeah.
But now you get in the car and you just automatically go. And
Yeah.
it's similar with sales. Once you know how to sell, it just becomes second nature. And you're like, yeah, cool, I know how to have this conversation. I know that if I'm dropping off kids 5 minutes later, I can jump on a call and be like, yeah, cool. I know what I sell. I know how to sell it. I know how to have really connected conversation.
Yeah. And even being able to do, I see so many people trip over their words. Even just yesterday, I was on an online networking call and tripping over their elevator pitch. I was like, what do you do? Who do you serve? And I've gotten so clear on that now. So I was in there and the lady who was facilitating it kept on interrupting them and say, so who do you help? And what do you do? And I was there just going, so I just went and did it. And I was like, this is progress.
Yes. I love it. Awesome.
So when does her sales club open again? Like how can people work with you?
Yeah, so we're going to open again in June, ready for a new financial year. We'll also do some quarterly planning. So what does your sales strategy look like for the next 90 days? It's not just about buying all the KKK planners and, you know, the amount of times that I've seen people spend days with planning days, coaching days, whatever days.
Yeah.
And then they come and be like, okay, cool, I've got it all mapped out. And there's no sales strategy behind any of it.
Yeah.
They're like, but I've mapped out my newsletters and I've mapped out the this and the that's and the, yeah, but money, you need to make money. How are we generating cash within your business?
Yeah.
And not just like, oh, I'm going to decide to sell this day, or shit, oh, quick, we need money and we need it now.
Yeah.
And we're going to try and pitch something constantly. We actually have a plan of like, what are you focusing on for the next 90 days? What are you selling? How are you selling it? Who are you selling it to? What are the sales assets that you need behind all of that? So that will kick off in June, which I'm really pumped about.
Ooh, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. You can have an idea, but there's and it's not just about inspiration, like reading a book or listening to a podcast. Actually having an expert tell you exactly what you need to do. And I was like, I'm getting really good at following other people's instructions. I never used to be that great at it, but now I'm like, you know what you're doing, so you tell me what to do. I will do it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same with my finances, right? Like, tell me what I need to do to be friends with Zero.
Yeah.
And I can manage the money outside of that, but making sure that I've ticked all the legal boxes and all of that. Yeah.
No, fantastic. Well, we'll put all the links to that in the show notes so that people can. Is there a wait list, or do people?
There is a wait list.
Okay.
There's also steps that people can take, even if you're not ready for her sales club. There's things like we've got a 7-step process that you can have a look at, which is at mareekirkpatrick.com/7 steps. Yeah. That'll take you through how to actually have those conversations, and not just conversations like one-on-one conversations, also over websites, social media, all the ways that you sell.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, so we'll put the link to that as well as her sales club, so you can get onto the wait list for that, so you don't miss out when it opens again.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much again, Maree. As always, wonderful to talk to you, and so much incredible value in that conversation. So people might have to listen to that again to really get all of it and absorb it and really take it in.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, lovely. It's been brilliant.
Wonderful. All right, everybody, have a lovely week, and we'll see you next Monday.